So I have a few questions here from the YouTube tutorial extraordinaire Salfor Sal. And she asks, all of her dwarves are blissful, remembering sleeping in a bedroom like a personal palace, but none of them having any personality changes relating to it after many years. Are there only certain categories of memory that can be promoted to core memory, regardless of strength of the emotion?
Yeah, I mean, that's a little. Yeah, this is definitely something I'd like to look up because I that's probably true, especially if it hasn't happened. Um, and I mean, it's important to wonder why rain would be um, in the category of ones that can be promoted, but sleep thoughts aren't. Um, it could be that I just had a very bad sense of which ones should have been put in the initial list. But yeah, no, I mean, if the experimentation is bearing it out, then I would, without being able to look at the code right now, I would definitely agree that there's probably an exclusion list that was based on just thinking that a thought was too prosaic, which again raises the rain question. So I'm not sure if the patch to that is not to just deal with the rain question, which is obviously something we were going to do before the Steam release anyway. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I still have mixed feelings about it because people do have kind of these touchstone memories based on the smallest things sometimes.
I have a fort that I'm trying to keep alive. Like me personally, I have a fort that I'm trying to keep alive for 1,000 years. And I've seen some really weird things with memories, like dwarves getting completely overthrown by stresses of their tragic lives and like running in circles, depressed, constantly doing nothing, throwing their clothes everywhere. And then somebody like comes along and punches them in the head, and then they're fine the next day. Like I've seen some strange things.
That's odd. Yeah, that's for sure. Especially if they were in a permanent like because you get the non-permanent versions repeatedly happening and then the permanent one happens.
Yeah, I haven't had anybody
And,
snap back from the permanent one, but the
okay,
non-permanent
that's
one,
good
yes.
because I didn't want to hear about that if that was happening because I'm like, oh, there's some memory problem or the mood variable is getting overwritten or something. But yeah, yeah, no, it's good. What are you doing? This is a ridiculous animal. He's sitting like a human on his computer. What are you doing? He just looked ridiculous.
Flopping
Just
backwards. You
ridiculous.
just need to
Yeah,
pass him a beverage.
yes, his yeah. You know, we could plant a mug on his belly right now and it would stay there.
Always wanted a
What are you
cat as a
doing?
coaster.
It's just ridiculous. Ridiculous.
So the next question from Sal's psychology experiments is when migrants arrive, they are believed to have completely empty memory slots, meaning that the first 8 experiences will be retained until overwritten. Even if the first 8 memories are of the same type, such as seeing 8 corpses or 8 fine statues in their way in. Is this accurate?
My understanding, having recently looked at it for a future of the fortress thing, and I could be wrong about the short term ones because the short term and the long term ones and the core ones work differently. But I think it's all category based no matter what, so that they're not going to get eight memories that are of the same type. I mean, maybe we should go over to like a Disco Elysium thing where you can see their memory inventory or something instead of having it hidden. But
I need to play that at some point.
yeah, no, it's a weird, interesting game. It's definitely worth looking at.
The next one that Sal's got for me, she gave me a whole list, is people report making dwarves watch sentient creatures die will make them immune to seeing corpses. Uh, if this is true, what is the mechanism behind that makes them immune?
Now I don't know. So first of all, again, without a code dive to refresh my memory, my only thought is that there's a very, very, very old variable called like hardness, which is kind of their combat experience slash PTSD variable. And it increases whenever they see like guts come out and just other stuff, but it includes seeing people die. And once the hardness variable is up to 100%, it kind of divides out the effects so that they really don't experience strong emotions in those situations anymore. It's not a very accurate model, really, because it doesn't have negative effects associated to it. There were a lot of other negative effects in the game, so we thought it kind of worked anyway. But and they'll still be throwing tantrums if they're stressed out and stuff. But it probably is something to do with that. But this is a thing that it did have a visible representation at some point where it says that they just don't care about anything anymore.
I've seen that.
And that comes from that variable. It's not tracked in any within any of the other systems. It's not a personality trait. It's not a memory. It's like the variable. There's two other variables that are kind of similar to it, which is like the wilderness variable about whether or not they mind being rained on, which is just kind of a weird independent early variable. And then another early variable is the kind of alcoholic timer or whatever that the dwarves all have.
Until they're a vampire.
Yeah, so those three things work together in behind the scenes sometimes, and I mostly had forgotten that they were there, but they still sometimes have these effects.